Hi, my name's Kate, and I'm on a mission to make Egyptology cool again. I still think it's cool, it's just not that popular at the moment. And with the troubles that universities are going through at the moment with funding and job losses and lack of focus on subjects like Egyptology, ancient history and classics, archaeology, and more and more and more, people might not be going to university to study Egypt at the moment, and other people might not want to go to university or might love ancient Egypt but not want to read all the books themselves. And I want to be able to teach you about ancient Egypt. You are my people, and I want to help you learn. So, if you'd like to, please come with me on this journey to learn about the fascinating world of ancient Egypt. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So, I have a BA in Egyptian archaeology and an MA in Egyptology from the University of Liverpool, and an MA in museum studies from the University of Leicester. I graduated from Liverpool in 2012 and from Leicester in 2016, and I've been craving ever since to return to learning about ancient Egypt. I've volunteered in museums, I've had real fun handling the objects in those museums, teaching children about ancient Egypt at the Egypt Centre in Swansea, but I really want to teach you at home through the medium of film, video, and I really want to remind myself about subjects in Egyptology that I might have forgotten and learn new things that they just weren't able to teach us at uni. So I will do all the reading for you and then come and watch my videos, and I will be very happy to teach you. So today I'm going to be teaching you about the religion of the king Akhenaten. Akhenaten took this 1700-year-old traditional religion of ancient Egypt and just turned it on its head with his new rules and his new god, the Aten. So come and learn with me. It's just before 10 o'clock in the evening, and people are going to bed early, so I'm going to stay up and write my Akhenaten religion episode. So I'm going to go and kiss the dogs goodnight, and then I will crack on. Let me introduce you to my babies. The fluffy black cat is Ruby. The ninja black cat is Rosie. The smaller dog, slightly smaller, is Daisy. And the cheeky boy, who's about to come and ask for food, is Jasper. He's 16, and as I said, he is a very cheeky boy. Hi! You don't want to go to bed yet? Until a few months ago, I hadn't studied the reign of Akhenaten for many years since university. It really is a fascinating period of Egyptian history. Akhenaten came to the throne after the death of his father, Amenhotep III, during a period of great wealth and stability in Egypt, and relative peace in the Near East, as far as Egypt was concerned, as the preceding kings of the New Kingdom had subdued, dominated, and controlled their neighbours. Akhenaten had some unusual ideas, and this wealth and stability in Egypt gave Akhenaten the freedom to be able to make these significant changes in things like art, kingship, and most importantly, religion. It's the morning. This is my view out of my window. It's not beautiful. It's a lot of grey houses. I've got a nice tree to look at over there, but in my wooden planter I've got 3 plants which I'm hoping have survived the winter, and then in a couple of months I'll see them suddenly, I don't know what you call plants growing all of a sudden, bloom. It's not bloom. Well, they will have flowers in the summer. They're alpines, but they'll suddenly get big and I'll be able to see their leaves above the wooden edge, and then I'll know that they survived and I'll have something to look at that's not grey out of my window. But now I've got Ruby being beautiful, and I'm going to get breakfast because I've got the dentist in about an hour and a half, so I have to clean my teeth very well. Ruby, do you want some breakfast? Yeah, come on then. Recently I've been enjoying reading about Akhenaten, pharaoh of the 18th dynasty during the New Kingdom. He was probably the father of Tutankhamun, but he's best known as being the so-called heretic king. He instigated massive reforms in ancient Egyptian art, kingship, and most importantly, religion. Throughout the past 1,700 or more years, ancient Egyptian religion had been polytheistic, as it recognized hundreds, if not thousands, of deities, although not all of them were perceived as gods in the modern sense. And individuals and often temples worshipped more than one god on a daily basis. Egyptian religion was therefore very flexible, as in their home shrines and during their daily lives, people could effectively worship whichever god they wanted and how many they wanted to, such as their local deity who looked after the people living in his or her area, like Sobek of Crocodipolis, the major god who represented a person's job, such as Thoth, god of scribes, and household deities who looked after the home and family, such as Bes and Taweret. The pharaoh, as supreme high priest, dictated the form official religion took, specifically which gods priests worshipped and which festivals were celebrated in the state temples that he funded. But even the king, as absolute monarch, hadn't or wouldn't try to control which gods commoners worshipped, but Akhenaten tried to change all this. Early on in his reign, Akhenaten declared that the new state god was the Aten, the sun disk as can be seen in the sky. It wasn't unusual for a king to change the main god that the most important temples in the country worshipped, the god he championed and who supported his reign. During the Old Kingdom, it was Ra, another sun god. In the Middle Kingdom, Mentuhotep II focused on the cult of Montu, the local god of his home city, Thebes, and during the preceding years of the New Kingdom it had been Amun or Amun-Ra. However, Akhenaten declared that the Aten would be the only god allowed to be worshipped in Egypt, and banned the worship of all other gods, firing priests and closing non-Aten temples. He moved to a brand new capital city, Akhenaten, built on a virgin desert site next to the Nile, approximately halfway between the old capitals Memphis and Thebes, from which he ruled Egypt and stated he never wished to leave. There he built several impressive temples to the Aten with unique architecture. In the old temples, the most senior priests proceeded through incense-filled, torch-lined rear parts of the temple made dark by the presence of a roof, through to the sacred sanctuary, where the god's statue containing his or her spirit was concealed, awaiting the high priest to perform the daily offerings and care rituals. In contrast, Akhenaten's temples were open with no roof, where the Aten, not inside a statue in spirit form, but in the sky, could receive offerings from rows upon rows of offering tables laden with food. In another monumental change from the old ways, the god of Egypt was now not accessible to non-royals to worship and pray for help and reassurance. Although everyone could see the sun disk of the Aten in the sky, Akhenaten declared that only himself and his family were allowed to directly interact with and worship the god, and for people to communicate with or honour the god, they had to pray to or effectively worship the royal family instead. Officially, people were left without a god of their own, except for the semi-divine king who, other than progressing through the city daily in front of adoring crowds, was untouchable as he stayed out of sight in his palaces. Although evidence from some houses in the capital city demonstrate that some people did celebrate the royal cult according to official doctrine, with shrines to the king and his family discovered in some wealthier homes, we don't know how much people genuinely revered Akhenaten as the royal intermediary of the Aten and a quasi-god himself, and how much he filled the vacuum he had created. Importantly, archaeological, textual and pictorial evidence from some houses in Akhenaten dated to shortly after the king's death, and some perhaps dated to during his reign, demonstrate that the old gods lived on in the spiritual lives of commoners. Important household gods such as Bes and Taweret worshipped to protect the family, Isis who could magically heal, and Shed who could protect against scorpions, among others. After Akhenaten's death, the religious control of his successors was less strict, and people felt they could unofficially worship their own gods again, but they could have continued to revere only the Aten, who was still officially the only god until the reign of Tutankhamun. The fact that some people at Akhenaten, and probably many more people away from the capital, went back to other gods for their personal problems, protection and piety after Akhenaten's reign ended, and especially if some of this evidence dates to during Akhenaten's reign, demonstrates that fundamentally his new religion, in which people had to rely on a king to enact a system of dislocated worship with an unfamiliar, inaccessible god, just wasn't enough for the ancient Egyptians. Moreover, it shows that his religious changes, and he himself, weren't strong enough to make everyone follow his doctrine and believe in who or what he dictated they must. No law is powerful enough to control every citizen's beliefs and convictions. And if an absolute monarch or a would-be totalitarian leader attempts to do so, there will be quiet resistance, even when there can't be overt revolution.